During his games, Haymitch Abernathy had everything going for him to stop the Hunger Games, be the face of the rebellion, and bring down the capital. He had the passion, the allies, the plan, the action. So why didn't Haymitch become the Mockingjay instead of Katniss? Let's compare and contrast the 50th Hunger Games with the 74th Hunger Games and figure out why Haymitch failed where Katniss succeeded. Sunrise on the Reaping spoilers ahead. Since Haymitch only had one game, we're only going to be looking at the 74th. Haymitch and Katniss had similar upbringings, both being from the Seam in District 12, which is the poorest part of the poorest district. They both lost their father in a mining accident, and they're both an older sibling. Haymitch has a younger brother, Sid, and Katniss has a younger sister, Primrose Everdeen. Both of them make money illegally. Haymitch makes alcohol, and Katniss sells wild game, which is illegal in District 12 by the time that her game comes around. While both are caretakers for their families, Katniss is the sole breadwinner, while Haymitch's mother works as a launderer. So although he has no room to waste, he does have extra money to spend on gumdrops and time to steal for his love, Lenore Dove Baird, who is a descendant of Lucy Gray Baird. I don't think she's her daughter. It's never explicitly said in the book, but I believe the theory that she's actually Maude Ivory's daughter. So she does have connections to Lucy Gray. And their names are very similar, both being an L name, both 2 syllables, and both having Gray. There is a connection, which is important in this book. This brings us to our first main difference between Haymitch and Katniss. Haymitch is kind and gentle by nature. He has a community of neighbors and close friends that really take care of each other, including Katniss's father, Burdock Everdeen, and her mother, Astrid March. Haymitch really talks about the beauty in the world and is content with life as long as he gets to spend it with Lenore Dove and his family and friends. Of course, he detests the Capitol and hates the Hunger Games and thinks it's wrong, just as anybody else does, but he would much rather keep his head down and not cause any trouble and avoid conflict. Katniss, on the other hand, is angry, resentful, and pained. She has a natural defiance about her. The circle of people she loves is down to Primrose and Gale. The only thing she really cares about is keeping her sister safe. So reading about the world from Katniss's perspective is a lot more pessimistic. Neither of them go through life believing that they're gonna be the ones to make a change of things. Haymitch and Katniss both participate in the Hunger Games at 16 years old, and they're both reaped abnormally. Haymitch is illegally reaped because he intervenes between Lenore Dove and a peacekeeper. Because of the circumstances behind Haymitch's reaping, Woodbine getting shot, the struggle between Lenore Dove and the peacekeeper, and Haymitch running in, none of this can be televised to the rest of Panem. It's a disturbance that costs time, effort, and capital dollars to fix. Even though it is covered up, it's cut out of the broadcast, it proves that the Capitol is not perfect and that it does have weak spots that can be exploited. President Snow sees the whole thing, of course. He's got eyes, ears everywhere. This would put a target on anybody's back, but because of Snow's history with 12 and Lenore Dove's connection to Lucy Gray, Haymitch is in major trouble. Snow will not be bested again. Compare this with Katniss's reaping, which is viewed in a much different light. Katniss is not reaped. She actually volunteers for Prim and is District 12's first ever volunteer. Both tributes act out of love, but Katniss was more subtle in a way that the Capitol can still use for their agenda. It's emotional enough to bring District 12 together as seen through their salute, but not too rebellious to be cut out from the broadcast altogether. It was Katniss's first step towards becoming the Capitol's sweetheart. Katniss chooses to be a tribute, while Haymitch is a tribute out of punishment. Katniss is seen as a hero, whereas Haymitch is a troublemaker. An example. Pretty quickly after being reaped, it's clear that Haymitch and the other tributes are going to be on their own. They're handcuffed, pushed around, and treated like animals, and it's especially bad for them being from District 12. Capitol folks at this point still have a very skewed perspective of the districts, and his stylist does nothing to help him. They're stuck wearing the same ugly old costumes from previous years, which will not help them get sponsors or make any statements. It's different for Katniss, who has Haymitch, Effie, her prep team, and most importantly, Cinna. Cinna is a major key for Katniss. Cinna knows the importance of image. He understands the way the Capitol people think and can change Katniss's appearance to manipulate the audience. He knows that you can make statements through the way that you look, and that's exactly what he does with the flaming costumes at the tribute parade. Their display is impactful in a way that excites the viewers, especially for a girl from the poorest part of the poorest district. Again, this statement is subdued, but Snow catches the message. She will not go down easily. This is where Katniss becomes the girl on fire. Haymitch's parade could not have been more different. The whole time they're getting booed, they're getting food thrown at them, and then an audience member throws a firecracker that spooks one of the horses, hits their chariot, and kills Luella McCoy. Overcome with emotion, Haymitch takes her body and displays it directly in front of President Snow. Haymitch applauds him not only for the death of Luella, but for the death of everybody who came before and everybody who will come after. There is absolutely no subtlety here. This is straight up a rebellious act, his second strike, and a direct violation to President Snow. He's got guts, you gotta give him that. The chaos alone makes the president look bad, and on top of that, the premature death of a tribute. Haymitch made the Capitol look weak again. Of course, this does not fit with the Capitol's propaganda, so none of this is aired. After that, the president meets one-on-one with Haymitch and tells him that if he continues on this path, the president will kill his family and Lenore Dove in horrible, horrific ways. But if he dies like a good, submissive little tribute, then his family and Lenore Dove will be safe. Though the president means to incite fear, his appearance actually proves that Haymitch is a threat that needs to be snuffed out before it can catch. For reference, Katniss doesn't meet the president face to face until the end of the first book when he crowns her the victor. It's really no choice for Haymitch to decide to die. He already thought he was gonna die anyways, but in the certainty of his death, there's a freedom that gives him the confidence to defy the Capitol on the way out. During training, Katniss actively avoids making allies, while Haymitch is a major part in bringing the newcomer alliance together. He spends a lot of time getting closer to his own teammates, while also branching out to the likes of Ampert and the Little Doves. Even though he knows he can't protect them, it's still in his nature to try. When he meets Beetee, Haymitch is the one who asks him how to break the arena, so he's becoming more intentional in his acts of defiance against the Capitol rather than purely emotionally driven acts. Haymitch is punished again when he receives a 1 at his evaluation. It turns out his smooth talking doesn't work. Compared with Katniss, who receives an 11 after shooting an arrow through the apple, which brings us to our second key character, Seneca Crane. Seneca Crane is the new headmaster, so he's still very naive. Any other game maker would have punished Katniss for endangering them, but Seneca Crane is impressed, and the 11 boosts her already powerful image even more. Going into the interview, Katniss is already adored by the people of the Capitol, but with the help of Cinna, she's solidified as the girl on fire. At this point, Katniss is still playing the game in the way that she's expected to. The arrow has got her some attention from President Snow, but not enough that she needs to be punished yet. Instead, Snow gives a warning to Seneca Crane. More importantly, when Peter reveals his love for Katniss, she becomes even more desirable, as Haymitch says, gives her a direction to take her game, and gives Seneca Crane a great avenue for storytelling. Before her interview, Cinna tells Katniss to just be herself, but Haymitch goes in with the plan to portray a character, the Rascal. His idea helps him get sponsors, but sharing about his illegal bootlegging further puts a target on his back. It doesn't endear him to the people the way that Katniss does. If he had gone in just being himself, the caring, kind, big brother type of character, perhaps they would have had more empathy towards him. Many of the tributes from 50 go into the interview as a unified force. The Newcomer Alliance talks about how they'll be taking care of each other, but it's completely cut from the broadcast because the Capitol could never show the tributes as hopeful. No, these people are savages who deserve to be brutally murdered, right? So let's recap. Before the games even start, Katniss is already seen as the heroic girl on fire from District 12, rising above it all, who actually has a chance to win. Her image is well curated, and her subtle acts of defiance work in her favor. Haymitch, who isn't supposed to be there at all, is the troublemaker going in with 3 strikes against him, and fully believes that he'll die. Haymitch goes into the games with the intention and the plan to break the arena, while Katniss goes into the games just wanting to survive. When the games start, they both grab their backpack and go off on their own. Although it's Katniss's plans to go at it solo, she can't help but being the big sister to little Rue. Even though this arguably weakens her game, it isn't just an alliance, it's love. And this is where Katniss really begins to gain favor with the districts, which is proven when District 11 sends her some bread later on. Katniss sings to Rue as she dies and puts flowers around her body. In terms of gameplay, while you're actively being hunted, there's really no practical reason for her to do this, but she was compelled to give Rue a proper send-off. This gentle act really humanizes Rue and Katniss and highlights the violence of the games that both the capital people and the districts have gotten desensitized to. To see two girls between districts take really good care of each other goes against everything that the Capitol says about these people. It goes against everything that the Hunger Games stands for, punishing the districts. The Hunger Games keeps them fighting against each other instead of the real enemy, the Capitol. This is really the first step towards district unity. It's important to note that Rue's death, Katniss's song, and the salute are kept in the broadcast. Katniss putting the flowers up was cut out, but Katniss notes in the books that when they go and take the body away, they'll see the flowers around her and know that Katniss had done it. Thanks to Seneca Crane, Katniss's greatest act of rebellion thus far has been shown to all of Panem and marks the start of unrest within the districts. Then, Seneca Crane changes the rules to allow 2 victors specifically so that he can advance the plot of the Star-Crossed Lovers. Fully believing the story, the Capitol citizens become completely invested in Katniss and Peeta's love and want to see them survive. When they change the rule back, it's Katniss's idea to take the Nightlock berries with Peeta at the same time, which would rob the Capitol of its victor. Before they take it, Seneca Crane stops them, ultimately sealing his own fate. This is Katniss's final act of rebellion, outsmarting the Capitol. Haymitch's games plays out much differently. The first of Haymitch's allies to find him is Lulu. Although he feeds her and takes care of her, she really doesn't last long. When they come to claim her body, he refuses to let them take them and makes it very difficult for them to come down and get the body, to the point where they literally have to release mutts on him. They did show her death, but not that Haymitch was watching out for her, and not that he was trying to defy the carriers from taking her away. When he meets up with Ampert and successfully floods the brain to break the arena, none of this is shown. When he tries to help Ampert from the squirrels, he's completely edited out. When he and Maisley try to help the other tributes against the giant porcupine, they cut him out. When they corner and attack the game makers coming into the arena for maintenance, what do you know? They cut him out. When he finds Welly in the trees and begins nursing her back to health, priming her to win, they cut him out. When he blows up the engine to finally break the arena, they cut him out. All of Haymitch's rebellious acts thus far have been too obvious and too aggressive to ever fly under the radar like they did with Katniss. Even his acts of kindness towards the rest of the tributes was taken away, so to the rest of the world, he just looks like every other savage, angry, murderous tribute. It just looks like he's playing the game the way he's supposed to. His story was never told, and that's the difference between Haymitch's game maker and Seneca Crane. Seneca Crane gives Katniss an 11. He shows Rue. He shows the love story, and he crowns 2 victors. I don't think he purposely went against the Capitol. I just think he got too caught up in telling his own story as opposed to selling the message of the games. And this would ultimately cost him his life. Overall, Haymitch caused a lot of trouble for the Capitol on his own, but because what he did was never shown, the fire didn't catch. At the time of the 50th Hunger Games, the rebellion was just starting to form. There were several people like Haymitch, Beetee, Plutarch Heavensbee, and Lenore Dove who acted on their own, but there was not yet a cohesive team to stand against the Capitol. By the time of Katniss, the rebellion was much tighter. Haymitch and Katniss both had the right spirit, but Katniss had a strong team to guide her, a well-crafted image, someone to tell her story, and a will to survive. She was smarter than him, or luckier. Katniss really did end up being kind of a pawn in the plan of the other people around her, like Haymitch and Plutarch, and the people who were moving her around in Mockingjay and the rest of the books. So a lot of times Katniss really had no idea that there was something bigger going on. She just did what felt right for her. So much of Haymitch's story was covered up that finally getting to read it really felt like justice, and it made me wonder how many people came before and after him that tried the same thing but could never become the Mockingjay like Katniss. How many people failed and how many stories we never got to see because the Capitol covered it up. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down below why you think Haymitch never became the Mockingjay. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you thought of the new book, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! I just found this sea glass in my kneecap. Interesting. Anyways, so